I'm gonna get to installing the floor today. I mean, I'm running out of sunlight, but what do we got? Ooh, 68 Chevelle. It's our floor panel. So from your perspective, if you're looking at the front of the truck, your steering wheel, the pedals are here. We sit here, and this is the floor. Now, the floor is gonna go like this. This is my piece. It's going to fit. Something like that. I'm gonna have to remove this rug and the shifter. Frig. Be very careful not to smash the glass. Note to self, you do have to take off the speaker cover. Alright, I think I'm gonna have to do what I didn't want to do at all, and that's remove the shifter and the four-wheel drive selector, because I'm not able to flip this rug over far enough to get it where I need to repair it, which blows. These things are always just like notoriously just shitty to remove. Okay, I can almost make out a screw in there. Didn't need that anyway. Hey, hey. Hell yeah. That's a win. Hey, Paolo. How you doing? Hey, Sammy. What are you doing? Hello, Sam. I'm not back here. Okay. Okay, wow, moisture stays under the rug for a long time, doesn't it? I have clear access to the rest of the floor and the sheet metal. Now this is when the fun begins. Okay, with the rug out, we have a clearer view of what's going on under here. So this is our floor. And so our replacement panel repairs up to about here. The goal is to cut away as little as possible. So looking at this, I don't know how I'm gonna get away with it because I don't trust any of this, especially up here. So what's gonna happen is expose some spot welds if there are any to be found over here, drill them out, jack the cab up, and then it'll just be happy cutting from there. This is steps, you know, it's step one is buying the truck. Step two, step three, profit. Alright guys, remember what I was saying, I needed to drill out this, I'm looking for the spot welds. There's that rail that runs right along here. There's the cab mount, and there's a rail that follows it. That one, I'm looking for the spot welds for, so I could drill them out, leave that rail in place, and then I'll have something to align the bottom of my floor with too. Once it's welded in, I'll apply the proper seam sealer to all the edges that require it as per Ford, and then that will be our floor. Now, according to what we just saw under the chassis, I'm expecting these spot welds to be along this line. Dimple. That could also be a dent. Okay, I feel some dimples, but not enough to really make me convinced that there are spot welds under there, even though I'm pretty sure that there are, because I remember the last time I did this, I thought I had to weld it to the floor. Yeah, see that? See how it doesn't want to move right there? That's a spot weld, which means that's a spot weld, which means that's a spot weld. The question is now, how far up do we want to cut it? The wire wheel exposed rust, more rust. So we knew that's where the rust ends right there. So okay, that's okay. And we come here and you can see there's little pot marks in there. Interesting note here, I'm kind of what the about, is there's not even any access for the cab mount bolt through here. It's people, bro. I look like Sydney Sweeney with these on. Okay, back to work. This is our floor. It almost fits in completely this way. What's stopping it is this parking brake line. Okay, and that is our floor panel for the most part. So as you can see, it covers up a lot of this area, and a lot of provisions aren't made for. So it doesn't have a provision for four-wheel drive. It doesn't have a provision for the cab bolt access hole. So I'm gonna try to cut it before that access hole, and I can just weld it down here. These marks are where the new panel covers completely. I want to preserve this hole here. The only hole I actually want to preserve in the floor is this one. So I'd like to cut it here, come down, square it up, square it back up again, all the way across, cut it here, maybe cut it around this raised piece. Wowza! And this is a good example of what a spot weld is. So a spot weld is basically two prongs come together and they weld the metal between them. They sandwich metal in between them and they weld them. This machine comes down, welds it right to here, and it leaves something like this. It looks like it's well stuck at one point, and that's exactly what it is. Spot welds are welds at points. Alright, I got the hole prepped. I'm confident that this is where the rust ends in the floor. Tomorrow I'm going to vacuum, polish it up some more, excuse me, and then cut the floor and put it in. So you see I have this giant L-shaped hole here to fill, and I have that one here to fill it with. Alright, the floor is clecoed into place. An obvious difference with the replacement floor versus the floor that's existing in the truck is that this floor in the truck bends down and then meets the rocker here. The new floor bends up I can't get in to cut the floor from the bottom under here. So I'm gonna take my drill, I'm gonna mark the points where I have to cut around. This is the old section, this is the new section, this is the clutch, these are the gas lines. I don't want to cut anywhere close to it. That's one corner. And I broke my drill bit. I'm about to just say screw it and deal with the consequences. I'm not getting anywhere with this method anyway, so I think I'm just going to cut the floor to where I think roughly the size should be and then go from there. Okay, I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to sketch a rough line where I think this should be cut. I'm going to have one long cut along this whole top piece. I can take about 2 inches off the front here, so I'm going to split the difference, take about 1 inch off of all of this, and this line will put me right back to the cut lines I made. So I have a hole here, and it's for the cab mount. And you can see the cab mount is loose because of it. So my idea now is to repair it, weld it back together, and then work on this top piece. Okay, this is the hole from the bottom. I have my blue line around it. So I'm gonna cut out this line. Hopefully the cab doesn't fall on my head. Hey! Hey! Come here! Now that the hole is cut out and cleaned up, I'm gonna take some of my cardboard here, and I'm gonna make a template. Now I'm gonna take this piece and transfer it to a thick piece of metal. I have to find out what gauge this is. Okay, so it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, I got my template here, 1/8 inch thick steel here. I'm gonna trace this onto this steel. There's the piece traced. Now we're gonna cut it out. My new piece is a little bit larger, which is what I wanted. Basically, that's my bend line. Let's go try it out. So it's gonna go in that way. So that means the bend is gonna go down. Glad I looked at this. Okay guys, got the piece made. Well, got it cut out. I'm gonna throw it in the bender here. We're gonna put about 20 tons of force into it to get a nice L shape. Once the L shape is made, we're gonna take it back to the truck, test fit it. If it fits well, we're gonna clean up the edges and we're gonna weld it in. And then we can get started on the floor, finally. Got this nice L piece, nice 90 degrees. The corner of that bent because the cab mount isn't exactly flat. It's kind of flared up top, and that should be enough to accommodate for the flare. Next thing is going to be just clean up the edges. Going to test fit it. If it works, going to drag out the welder, which is a chore and a half, and then I'm going to put this piece in, prime it, and then we're going to put the floor in. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it into the corners up here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of trimming the corners on the truck, I'm going to trim the corners on this piece. Looks pretty good. This will get seam sealed. On Saturday, we got the cab mount repaired. Let's go put the rest of the floor in. Okay, so next thing is I'm gonna drill the holes for the spot welds in the floor with my 1/8 inch drill bit first, and then I'll come back and enlarge the holes with the 5/16 bit. Got the holes drilled for the floor. Looks like a bunch of 22 gunshots. So what's going on now is, after the floor is in, what's happening is that you see this piece, it's actually supposed to be folded under, and it's supposed to be tucked into the floor directly like this instead of laying on top of it. I've made my cut here. This is where I'm going to bend this tab back straight. So this whole piece is going to be bent this way. So I have a rough bend. See, I'm starting to flatten that out along this whole crease here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to straighten it out some more using the vise. Fuck. What? Let me dig in the box for another one. Alright, so this is our floor now. This is the existing edge, which is going to wrap around the front doorpost. And then I've made all this one flat wall. As you can see, it's nice and smooth. It's angled correctly. Now let's go test fit it in the truck and see if I made the right call by doing this. Okay, so I have a gap here. The floor has to be bent out a little bit. So instead of it being a perfect 90 degrees, it has to be maybe 95 degrees. I don't know. Let's pull it out and try it again. This is what it's like putting a floor in. It's a lot of back and forth, climbing over things to get back to where I need to. A lot of running around, a lot of putting it on the truck 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, just to get that fitment. Here, look at this with me. I got more of a wider angle into this piece. Let's try it again. Let's take a walk back. So I've made a critical error on the floor. I don't know if I cut the floor too small or I cut the existing hole too big. See, the whole problem with this was that I cut the floor of the truck out originally before I even got this floor. Because usually what I like to do is I like to put one over the other. But when I did it this time, it didn't come out right. The hole in the floor, the existing floor, was still too big versus the piece I cut. So now I have to go back and I have to trim out pieces so I could go back and fill in the larger holes. Alright, so I fixed this gaping hole with another piece of metal. Now I just gotta weld it in. Back to this fucking botch of a job, Jesus. Anyway, so now I've made in one piece of my filler panel. Next, I'm gonna make the other filler panel from the piece because I made this completely too small. It's actually the first time I've ever done this. Making it too small, I mean. Okay, so I got the new piece of the floor tack welded to the other new piece of the floor, and this is gonna cover the giant hole that I cut out by accident. So now my plan is, now that the two pieces are attached, I'm gonna come through with my cutoff wheel and I'm going to cut the old floor out and I'm going to cut the new floor out at the same time. I just tried to play drums and I'm just too restless. It's still like 8 o'clock, so I could get some work done on the truck still. I ate dinner. I'm just thinking too much about the truck and like getting it done, and I'm standing here now. I have energy, I have time. Why not go finish it? Welcome back to Grandma Stitched Me a Floor Pan. Okay, let's weld it in. There are some parts that I missed, so I'm gonna grind all the welds down, and then that'll reveal the holes to me that I have to fill back in with the MIG welder. So I'll grind it down one more time, and then it's in. All right, it's another cold day here. Brick is hell out. I got the floor welded in 2 days ago. Welcome back to the floor. It's welded, now it's time to sand it down. These are the tools I'm gonna be using to do this job. I'm gonna come in with my flat disc first, which is basically just a bunch of little sanding pads that are stacked like lizard skin. This is gonna take me 95% of the way. The next 2.5%, I'll use this, which is a die grinder with a sanding wheel attachment. And then I'll switch the sanding wheel attachment for probably a fiber disc, and that will completely smooth the welds out. .80 grit sanding disc for my die grinder. And then this is a fiber disc. This is a blue fiber disc. There's blue, there's red, there's green, and they have different abrasive values. So I've gotten a lot of this down with my belt sander here, with about a 60 grit belt on it, and my flat disc, which I introduced earlier. Now I'm gonna come in and do the finer detailed work, getting all these welds knocked down with my sanding discs. Okay folks, we're back. I just ate dinner and I bundled up a little bit more. Well, actually I just put my hood on really, because it's supposed to go down to the 20s tonight, and it's the sun is fading fast. So I turned the lights on in the tent. Check this out. These are the lights in my tent. My dad and I put these up. Which is actually, if I run 60 frames a second, it's not flickering. Those are different hertz. I am so particularly bad on gloves. These gloves are 2 days old. 2 days old. I'm like notoriously tough on gloves. I'm very dexterous with my hands. Like a raccoon. We just got the welds knocked down on the floor for the first time. After I show you the little spots that we're gonna fill in, we're gonna go back in with the welder, but it's cold out. Probably in low 30s right now. It's supposed to get even colder. Whatever, truck has to get done. So there's holes like that. There's a couple holes right there. There's another hole right there. Just pin size stuff. This seam came out really nice. Very happy with that. I just gotta touch up some of these things still. It's not done yet, but this is what I have to come back in and fill in. Now, time to grind them down.
Wow, that came out nice.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Could have done a little bit better. Got some warping right here.
Yeah,
but all in all, it came out nice. Now that the floor is in, it's time to paint it. So I'm going to use some self-etching primer. It's going to coat onto the bare steel. And then from there, I may apply a second coat. I will apply a second coat, and from there I may apply some paint. The underside of the floor, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to coat it with some self-etching primer because I can't do epoxy right now. It's also like 25 degrees out. Floor turned out well. I'm happy with it. It's not an amazing job, but it's strong, it's sturdy, and it looks fine. So first step in preparing the floor is I'm gonna vacuum this area out. I'm gonna degrease the floor, and then we'll be good to coat it. Oh, and then I'll scuff it, and then I'll coat it. That's the order of things. All right, let me go drag out my vacuum. again. You thought we were taking a day off? This isn't construction. We have a floor to finish. Last thing on the floor before I could show you guys this video is going to be the seam sealer tutorial. Not really a tutorial, you're just going to watch me do it, and I'm going to explain how I do it. I guess it's kind of a tutorial, right? Anyway, what I got here is some very basic seam sealer. I forgot where I got it from. It's Evercoat Body Shop. Pro grade. I've never used this stuff before, but I'm going to give it a shot. What happens is I'll put this in a caulk gun and we will apply it, and then the whole area gets painted. Although I'm not going to paint today because it's like not even 30 degrees out. Look how furious the snow is coming down. It's only been snowing an hour and it's building up like this. It's beige, just like my ass. Light, caulk, action. This is the area where the seam sealer needs to be applied. I don't have a spot welder, so I had to replace the spot welds with these sporadic welds right here. It's just as good, it's just as strong, it's just not as pretty. Once I'm done up here, I may turn my attention to the top, and then we can call the floor done. Now, where am I going to put you? Da 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 da.